about dramaturgical analysis. Dramaturgy, a theory by Irving Goffman, sees social interactions as theater. People are like performers on stage, using roles, scripts, and costumes to influence how others see them. This is called impression management. The theory looks at how people change their behavior in different settings, with the front stage for public displays and the backstage for more private and genuine moments. My proposal addresses the issue of how people manage their identities and social roles in their everyday lives, especially in a world shaped by social media and public image. Dramaturgy analysis, introduced by sociologists, compares our daily life to a theatrical performance where everyone acts out roles depending on the situation and audience. Research shows that nowadays, people experience stress and anxiety from molding themselves to a public figure. This performance pressure can affect our mental health, relationships, and authenticity. I believe that this social issue should be an area of concern because people today often feel forced to pretend or perform to fit in. For example, many teenagers carefully plan what to post on social media to appear perfect. This can cause feelings of low self-worth and insecurity. By understanding dramaturgical analysis, society can encourage authenticity over appearance. Young people, especially students, social media influencers, and celebrities are most affected. They face social pressure to act a certain way even when they don't feel that way. For instance, they need to look happy, successful, and proud of their lives even though when they aren't. This can lead to mental issues such as anxiety, loneliness, depression, if they bottle up their emotions too much. I really believe that society should encourage authentic self-expression and awareness of social roles. Schools can teach students when they should perform and when they should be true to themselves. Of course, sometimes we need to act more dignified because of the other person that should be respected. But that doesn't mean we need to act like that every time. Schools can also teach students to express their true selves. By understanding Goffman's theory, people can reflect on their actions and build more genuine connections. A possible negative effect is that some people might feel uncomfortable being fully open or honest fearing judgment. The positive outcomes, however, are improved self-awareness and self-analyzing. I believe that we shouldn't judge others because of their perspectives, styles, and ideas. It isn't our place to judge anybody. When people understand the theater of life, they can choose to perform less and to live more authentically. In conclusion, dramaturgical analysis helps us understand that we should accept our true selves and also realize the fact that no one is perfect and we shouldn't care about what others think. Understanding dramaturgy isn't just about sociology or education, but it's about building a more empathetic society and a healthy mind. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul, and today I'm going to introduce one of the most socially issued thing called fake news. Information. It's one of the most important factors in living. There are many ways to get information these days. You can read a book, search it on the internet, like ask someone, subscribe to a newsletter, and more. The ways of searching for information are developing these days too. In this era of AI, you can search anything you want to know about and the answer would come out right away. However, there's this one specific problem that is among all these kind of ways. This problem is fake news. Fake news is a false or misleading information. According to researchers like WHO, which is World Health Organization, and PubMed Central, they make this kind of confuse people and make informations harder to believe. They also increase fighting and division between people by making conflicts whose claim is a fact. Fake news as information itself can also harm peoples. For example, if there's a health news about lies about vaccines or new viruses, so this news is fake. People can have bad health choices about these news, so they might have this wrong choices about these. You might get the point, but you might not still understand why we should address fake news. Remember, fake news can cause big harm to the world in many ways powerfully. So the more the fake news spreads, the less people would try to believe things, which will make the whole community into a misbelief. Let's give you another example. So if there are a lot of fake news like this on this slide, people will start to not believe anything which contains the truths also. So whenever another one information comes in, they will think this is another fake information, so I won't just kind of listen to it. Yeah, the whole community is going to a chaos. But people who believe in them will also get injured or hurt by wasting their time, energy, and money. So they're going to lose all three of these things. Then who are the victims who are getting mostly these problems? Well, actually, it's all of us, including you. So anybody can expose to this danger of false claims. But if we divide it into sections, we can have three main groups. First of all, regular people who want to know about any kind of information can be the targets of fake news. Secondly, among them, young people who are watching social medias a lot can be watching these wrong posts about fake informations. So it's our age, so we're actually the ones who are who should be careful a lot, because we don't have what's true or not. We can't have that kind of things inside our heads, so whenever this information comes in, we can be dangerous and might believe it right away. So also let me have another example. So AIs, they get this kind of informations that are wrong on the big data. So it's called AI hallucination. So in AI hallucination, AI generates this wrong answers about one's question due to the fact that AIs get these wrong informations on the internet and the big data. Lastly, governments and public agencies who need informations can have a problem confirming whose information is fact or not. So whenever they have an emergency, they will get confused and perplexed about these stuff. I think by this time you guys have understand the seriousness of fake news. Now we need to have a good solution to prevent these. These 3 steps I'm going to tell you now are simple but efficient. Is to think, check, and teach. First of all, think before believing it. So you need to check, and then before believing it, you need to think about it if this can be right or wrong. If you can't know it by yourself, check it as many ways as possible, on books, internets, or news. And lastly, tell tell the people who are like around you to like escape from the fake news. So they should not be like tempted to those. So work together. Of course, there will be downsides like worrying about your net of fast checking or like getting limit of free speech because you accidentally post these wrong things. But if we work together to make this environment good and healthy, we can have this information's better and better each time. Let's make this world truthful and trustworthy for all of us.
Hello, my name is Christline, and today I want to talk about job loss caused by artificial intelligence, also known as AI. AI is growing very fast, and it's already changing how we work, learn, and talk. In this speech, I'm going to be talking about what this issue is what researchers say, why it matters to us, and what we can do to prepare for the future. What social issue am I talking about? AI is starting to replace people's jobs. And it mostly affects jobs that repeat the same steps every day. For example, simple office work and customer services. And also AI and robots can do these tasks without getting tired or making mistakes. What does research say about it? Research says that jobs right now could change or disappear because of AI. But research also says something positive. It says AI will also create new jobs. And these jobs would require creativity and teamwork. Although AI replaces some jobs, it can also open the doors to new ones. Why is this issue important, and why should we care? This issue is important because job loss can affect humans' lives and real families. If a person loses their jobs, they can have a lot of stress. And students like us should also care because future jobs will look different from the present jobs today. And what is my solution or idea? My idea is that schools and governments should help with new skills for people. They should make the students learn new skills of AI. And also, schools should also teach students things about AI and also focus on things that AI can't do. Adults should also have access to retraining programs so that when they lose their old jobs, they can replace them with new ones. Has this worked anywhere? Yes. Some countries already have programs that help workers learn new digital or technical skills. And this shows that training programs can help people stay employed even when AI changes the job market. In conclusion, even though job loss can be a major social issue, it can also make new opportunities. And it also affects us because of our families, our future, and the world we will live in. Colin Powell says this sentence: "There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." I hope our generation could prepare and be the next leaders in our world. Thank you for listening.
Everyone, my name is Dennis Won. Today I'm going to introduce you about one of the biggest social issues, racial discrimination. Have you ever heard what day 21st of March is? What less of you may be aware of is that 21st of March is the date globally set as elimination of racial discrimination. It was designed by Yena in 1966 to reflect on the mass murder of 69 people by police. There are some experiments of racism to show the social experiments. According to racism experiment by Clark Merrifield in 2024, when a white person who is blind asked to catch his or her hand, then everyone held his hand. But when a blinded black person asked to catch his hand, except for one boy, nobody held his hand. This experiment shows that people prefer helping white people than black people. Where does this social issue mostly commonly happen? In countries where there are differences, there is bound to be racism. As there are more racism between countries, this means that there are more racists on this country. Racist people is mostly against white people, but there's also racist Korean toward Japanese. Then, why should we concern about this issue? One study on 800 Australian students say that when they got racial discrimination, they felt they are not safe and they couldn't believe anyone except for their family. They felt sad, angry, and fear, and they had little or no trust apart from their family. This shows how huge impact racial discrimination gives to us. What groups are negatively affected by these social problems? A survey of 2,380 young people ages 13 to 17 found that 89% had either experienced or witnessed racism. Racism mostly happened at school 43% and online 33%. Racism also happens at school, online, workplace, and even at home. There are some proposals to overcome this problem. First proposal is to teach second generation not to do discrimination by not doing it ourselves. Children learn from adults. Children do things when they learn from children, and children learn from adults. And this means that when adults don't do discrimination, then children are not gonna do discrimination like their parents. Second proposal is to make laws stronger so that people can be aware of discrimination and try to not to do it. When there's a stronger discipline to stop doing discrimination, then people are going to get scared by strong laws, so they are not gonna do discrimination like assaults. Third proposal to overcome racism is to support victims by making discrimination conversative center, so that black people can say what they felt bad and scared. Also, they can get cultural help so that they can feel a new country feels like their home. Have you ever heard of reverse racism? Reverse racism, often called as reverse discrimination, is the concept that affirmative action and similar color-conscious programs for reducing racial inequality are forms of anti-white racism. Belief in reverse racism is widespread in the United States. However, there is little to no empirical evidence that white Americans are disadvantaged as a group. There are no reasons or excuse for racism, it's just wrong. It's time to change our perspective to racism and protect who is getting discriminated every day. Thank you for listening.
Have you ever thought or heard about an incinerator? An incinerator is a place that is used for burning garbage and waste. But why do we have to know about the incinerator? Many people don't care about the incinerator and our environment is being destroyed. And that became a social issue. So I'm going to go through this serious problem in my speech. Most of the people are opposed to the incinerator, but some other people consent to it because they get heating bills and maintenance cost support, installation of resident convenience facilities, and reduction of user fees. Meanwhile, the reason for the opposition side is mostly because of their health problems and also other bad smells, environmental issues, etc. However, the consenting side is increasing. So many people are disagreeing with the incinerators, but the city council thought they should have the incinerator for a lot of waste from its citizens. They decided to give more benefits to the people, like the things that I mentioned before. So even the people who disagree with the incinerator before wanted to get those benefits and just agreed it only for their goods. But the truth is, the reasons for the opposition side is more seriously true. So the incinerator affects our health and the environment. There is some academic research for that. So the research highlights public health, environmental justice, air pollution, climate change, and lack of decision-making processes. Health. The academic research shows high concern of harmful and dangerous chemicals and pollutants such as metals or dioxins that cause cancer and birth defects. Environmental justice. People from low-income communities argue that the incinerator mainly comes to their areas without considering their complaints and hardships. Climate change and waste. The research also explains that the climate change is caused by CO2 that comes a lot from burning plastics, and that directly affects climate change by heating temperature on Earth up. So I feel that the incinerator issue should be severely addressed. First, because a lot of people are worrying and getting stressed by this issue, and I think worrying all the time and having concerns are not living fairly. And I think that will affect their mental health too, even if you don't consider having physical health impacts by toxic air. Second, because to make the city peaceful without any protesting or fighting for their own opinions, I think people should solve this kind of problem fast and effectively. And third, because there might be other issues if you don't consider this issue as a big, important, or serious problem, such as arguing that the city council is not working or listening to the citizens, or they're making people more tired by not solving this problem. So I think these social issues should be significantly addressed. But then there are a lot of cities and communities that get negative impacts from incinerator use. For example, in Gumi, the middle part of South Korea has many problems such as fires in pile of trash and air pollution. Some of people are anxious and scared of living in Gumi, especially near the incinerator. So I really think that society should address this social issue. These are some of my proposals on how society should address this issue. Society should discuss calmly with the people and should include as many demands and requests as possible for every person to be equal and fair. So to put all the opinions from both sides that are consenting and opposing to the incinerator, we should have the incinerator, but we should also need to have the systems for filtering the polluted air. But there might be some negative outcomes too. The air filter that will be built with the incinerator will cost a lot. Even burning garbage for a year costs 4.6 billion wons. Or people might fight again with other ideas and more. I think positive outcomes would outweigh negative outcomes because we get more things after solving this problem. And I believe that we should do our best to address this social issue for everyone's peaceful life without having any more negative impacts. This is not only about burning trash, but also about protecting our future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yena, and I'm 6th grade student in KCIS. My topic for speech contest is domestic abuse. 1/3, 70%, 1 in every 9 seconds. What do you think these numbers represent? According to Roha Youth Service, 1 in 3 children have witnessed domestic violence, 70% of women experience domestic abuse, and 1 woman is abused by an intimate partner every 9 seconds. My proposal today will address the issue of domestic violence. Statistics show that more than 90% of domestic violence victims never seek help. The types of domestic violence these victims go through include physical assault, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse. Although the victims of domestic violence suffer from these outrageous situations, 93.2% of these victims never receive any kinds of help. Domestic violence is a serious problem. Although it is a very serious matter that could affect the whole family members, victims of domestic violence get very little attention. As briefly mentioned before, only 6.8% of the victims get help. This leaves various children from domestic violence families to be exposed to long-term emotional and social damage. In worst case, they might end up killing themselves. So why, although this is a serious issue, the victims of domestic violence don't get enough help and support from our government? Women and children are mostly impacted by domestic abuse. Furthermore, victims' trauma might affect entire communities negatively. When victims get abused, they make bad results on their studies and deteriorate their health. For example, they might get a chronic headache, digestive disease, hypertension, and have weak immunity. Some develop mental disorders too, such as PTSD. Thus, they cannot fully recover and get back to their normal life. When they can't go back to their normal life, this is when it starts to impact the society. It impacts the society because it increases social and economic costs. It increases social costs which can protect victims and take legal actions. It can deteriorate social safety too. To address domestic violence and let more people to get aware of it, we can hold lectures and teach children about violence. In addition to it, we can teach them how to react toward domestic violence. Second, construct a system that allows victims to report when they face domestic abuse. Third, construct strong laws and police systems to help affected children and separate children from their parents. Fourth, set up a protection center and provide a healthcare system for victims. Lastly, we must educate the perpetrators to prevent recurrences from happening. The most important thing is to protect young victims until they become adults. Support them in housing and education expenses to ensure their healthy development. However, these efforts to stop domestic violence might cause some side effects. Sometimes strong laws and protection might result in false accusations. Sometimes parents might not be able to educate their children properly because they might call police and say they got abused. Also, victims might only rely on social support. But despite these possibilities, I believe protecting victims, especially children, is far more important. The benefits are greater than the risks. Domestic violence can steal one's childhood, destroy family, and damage communities. But with awareness, strong systems, and compassion, we can make change. We can decrease the numbers 1/3, 70%, 1 in every 9 seconds into 0%. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Hayoul, and I'm going to talk about my topic in this presentation, artificial intelligence, the impact of AI on human society. Table of contents. I'm going to talk about AI ethical issues, AI bias, lack of emotional intelligence, human laziness, job displacement, and conclusion. First, ethical issue, AI bias. AI raises a serious ethical issue in the society. Ethics in AI is one of the most critical issues that needs to be addressed. AI bias is the main problem and ethical issue. So AI bias happens when AI reflects a certain unfair pattern from data or humans, which potentially can cause a real world effect. There are 3 main ways for AI to collect bias. First, data collection, algorithmic feedback, and lastly, human design interaction. People cannot not have bias. Everyone has bias, both conscious and unconscious. So that human bias sneaks into the AI, while when both AI creation and human user interactions, and those potentially can also cause bad effects on the society. Next, possible solutions. The first solution I thought of is ethical sandboxing. So before an AI system is released, it could be placed in an ethical sandbox, which is a simulated mini society containing artificial agents, characters with diverse behaviors to see different reactions from AI. If the model consistently harms certain groups and bias is caught before real humans are affected. So for the second solution, model quarantine, the system detects some suspicious decision patterns that harm certain groups and temporarily isolating that part from the main model, so it cannot influence the main model from actually touching with real humans. So you can think of this as a check before the real result. Next topic is lack of emotional intelligence. Lack of emotional intelligence happens when people face AIs for emotional difficulties without not engaging real human relationships. Without those actions, they just face AIs to fix and handle those difficulties. So people rely on AI for emotional support, and I don't know why, but I really can't understand why people do those stuff, because we obviously know emotions better than AI. So it also weakens these skills. And for the solutions, I thought of first emotional literacy. I think schools and families should reinforce emotional literacy by teaching active listening, managing frustrations, resolving conflicts respectfully from an early young age to students, so that students can learn those stuff earlier in life to connect with other people. So I would, for another solution, I think we should all keep this in mind, that we should use AI for support, not a replacement for emotional connections. Next is encourages human laziness. Over-reliance on AI if human laziness occurs when people rely on AI for just wanting direct answers, and this could lead to shrink of sustained focus and problem solving. And this also makes the society in risk, because members in the society don't want to work and have less effort on deciding, thinking, writing, and those stuff, and just want AI to do all those things, and loses the habit of effort. But we should always keep that in mind, that these skills happen from human to human struggle, not just easy answers. Job displacement. So it's AI automation. It's a growing problem. AI automation can replace human workers, causing economic instability. So workers' skills are at risk, and because AI are routine, repetitive, and some knowledge-based tasks can be done faster and cheaper by AI. For the solutions, I think as AI adopt to this society, the government and companies should support workers by providing training jobs AI cannot really easily replace. And also human AI collaboration jobs should be redesigned too. For the conclusion, I think the problem matters. This problem matters because once those skills fade, students lose the ability.
Hello, my name is Hayoul from G12, and today I'm going to talk about the social issue of abandoned pets. So to talk about my own pets, as you can see in the pictures, they are very cute, but they were both abandoned. So my dog was rescued almost 10 years ago, and my cat was rescued last year. So although it's been a long time since they were rescued, both my pets still struggle with the aftermath of being abandoned. So my dog was abandoned when she was only 2 weeks old. Now she's 10 years old, and her previous owner couldn't handle all the puppies that her dog gave birth to. So she ended up abandoning all the puppies, including my dog. And although it's been 10 years since she was rescued, she still struggles with skin diseases and damaged teeth that she got when she was abandoned. And my dog, he is right here. Oh, sorry, my cat. My cat was abandoned when he was 6 years old, and we rescued him last year. And he was abandoned due to his health conditions and his uncleanliness. And he still struggles with scars from other cats and heart disease from malnutrition, which he both struggled with when he was abandoned. So to talk about me, I personally have a very severe cat allergy. My level of allergy is 5 out of 5. So I take medicine every single day, and recently my cat allergy got so bad that it started to spread to my eustachian tube, and it started to spread to my bronchus. So I recently started sleeping separately from my cat, but still I have really bad cat allergy. And the important thing is I still do not abandon my cat, and I still have not even thought of that idea like ever. So I know this was like a very long introduction, but I've said it all just to say that I have a very good reason to talk about this topic, and that there is no excuse for abandoning your pet. Still, every year, 100,000 pets are abandoned, which is about 5% of all pets. And Koreans are especially obsessed with small purebred dogs that are sold at pet shops, which intensifies the abandonment. So, briefly, the groups that are negatively impacted by this social issue are obviously the dogs and cats themselves and the people who live in the neighborhoods in which the pets were abandoned. So not everyone loves dogs or cats, and none of them has the responsibility to take care of the abandoned pets unless they're the ones that abandoned them. So I think other than the dogs and cats who are obviously harmed by this social issue, people who live in the neighborhoods, we should protect them as well. So the solution that I came up with is to punish people who abandon their pets. So these days, all pets are required to have their microchips implanted into their bodies when they see the vets, and information of the owners microchips should be tracked down, and we should use them to give people who abandon the pets the charges. And the second solution I came up with is to boycott the pets that are sold at pet shops. So Korea's obsession with purebred pets results in commercialization of animals and high abandonment rates of mixed pets. So animals are not objects, and we have to acknowledge that once we decide to keep them, we have the responsibility to keep them until their death. So we should remember to, rather than buying pets, we should adopt the pets. If we keep boycotting the pets, then the pet market will not keep going, and eventually the adoption rates of abandoned pets will increase. So there are plenty of pets waiting for adoption, so I encourage you to look for them. And lastly, make sure to love the animals. Be kind and do not scare away the pets with all the photo shoots, even if they're on the streets, and look them at a distance and report them for abandonment if you can. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you.
My name is Ryan Lee from G9, and throughout this presentation, I'm going to talk about job loss by automation. Let's go. So, job loss in the past, it was actually not very common. It was actually very rare to happen. And the reason why is because it was only caused by market failures or like great decrease in demand. And at that time, jobs were actually being created rather than like jobs decreasing like in the current society. But something like different is happening in the current like time. So let's look at the farming industry. Since the 1900s, the demand for crops and like the goods by farming have been increasing. And to get the most out of that increasing demand, the supply was increasing too. Then like, let's think logically. Logically, the supplies are increasing, which should mean that the suppliers should be increasing too, right? But actually, that was not the situation. According to the US Department of Agriculture, in 1920, there were only about like 6.5 million farmers, which is, I think, is not that much for a country big as USA. But actually, by 2024, only about 1.9 million farmers were left. And people might say, that's still like 2 million farmers. But that's like still a lot. But actually, you should keep in mind that the market of farming was actually going super well. And also, this is only about 30% left from the original amount. So what happened here? I can tell you that automation happened. Automation is the use of machines and computers that can operate without needing human control. Now, these days farms don't use like mostly human forces. They use like tractors or like sprinklers to replace human jobs that were done in the past. And now the farmers who used to do those jobs are now just all like unemployed. Now, unfortunately, technologies that are developing these days, like advanced these days, are creating like job loss for humankind. Like when robots and machines were first made, their goal was to help the people do their jobs. But as people made more robots and made more machines, they started thinking, why should the robots only help when they can just do the jobs on their own? So from then on, the goal of innovations of these kind of technologies were to replace humans and do the jobs on their own, rather than to help the people do their jobs. Now, for the examples of this, there are AIs. AIs are super like controversial these days. Everybody's talking about AIs. AIs are here and there. ChatGPT, I use my students, like my friends, using it every day. And in America, there's this school called the Alpha School. Now, this is just like a normal school. It's just like a normal school, except that the teachers are AIs. Students go to the school, sit down, and bring out their devices and use AIs to get the information they want. Instead of teachers, like real human teachers, they just use AIs. And there are actually real teachers in the Alpha School too, but they are only there to help the students get the like optimist like prompts needed to feed the AIs. And because this is using AIs instead of the teachers, all the teachers who might have been working in these kind of schools are all now like could be unemployed. And also, I'm pretty sure that most of the people here heard about Xiaomi. I actually didn't heard about it until I researched it for this project. And Xiaomi is a manufacturing company in China, and it's making like phones and tablets, and it's famous for like cheap products. And the reason why is because Xiaomi owns like various fully automated factories in China. This might not really get to you for a while, but actually fully automated factories are insane. In the past, like all the jobs were done by humans, and they didn't even have a conveyor belt, so they had to do everything on their own. But in Xiaomi's factories, there are only like slightest human involvements like needed, and those involvements are just to like close the doors or like to clean the room, which doesn't even need the use of machines. And most of the producing and like processings are all done by machines, robots, and AIs. And people who could have been working here, should have been working here, and were working here in the past are all now unemployed. Now, and these kind of factories are keep on increasing. Now, of course, there are positive sides of automations too. It is just cheaper. The companies don't have to pay any more workers monthly and yearly, so that they can use that money to like maybe like increase the net profit or like decrease the price for the consumers. But this is only just advantage for the company owners and the consumer, and it doesn't even like matter to the workers who we should be talking about by this topic. And this is just an advantage that gives the company owners another reason to implement like automation into their factories. So actually, this like advantage of automation is making the problem worse and worse throughout the time. Now I will conclude my presentation. Automation is all around the world, from farming industries to full manufacturing like Xiaomi. And most people in the world can be the victim of this problem. Now, people who do like simple jobs, like repeating jobs in factories and stuff, they are the most vulnerable victims of this problem. And it's because it is harder to teach machines and AIs to do those kind of jobs. I mean, we all do too, right? We can do easy works, hard works are hard. And plus, like, there are no significant solutions going on around this. And the primary reason why is because of education. When people are like job loss and they don't have jobs, the governments want to like allocate them into different like jobs or stuff. But because they don't have educations, they cannot go into those jobs. So my personal answer is to like give like free like education to the people using tax. And we can just use that education to make them get income, and that income can be used to get taxed more too. Now, that was actually all for me, and thank you for listening.
Hello, I am Alex from G12, and among many different social issues right now, I chose to briefly explain about China visa-free entry policy. In 2024, Korean government introduced a visa-free entry policy for Chinese tourists under certain conditions. And it means that Chinese nationals can enter Korea without applying visa in advance, as long as they meet specified requirements. on the surface level, this seems like a simple tourism policy, but because of its timing and the potential impact, it soon became a major political and social issue. 4 years, Chinese tourists played a major role in Korea's economy. Local businesses like duty-free shops, hotels, and restaurants, they all got a huge benefits from the large amount of Chinese customers. However, after the pandemic, they all got a severe damage that they still struggle to recover from. That's why many in the business sector has welcomed this policy, as they thought this was the only way to bring back much necessary economic benefits. But at the same time, many Koreans has raised concerns and criticisms. One major concern is illegal immigration risk. In the past, many Chinese tourists used to overstay their terms for visas or travel to Korea as an excuse to work illegally. Many Koreans worry that with this visa entry policy, it will be way much more difficult to monitor and control them. Another concern is about public safety and national security. Issues such as phone scams, organized crimes, and illegal brokerage activities was continuously associated with certain groups of foreign visitors, and this led to Korean citizens to ask whether this policy might increase the frequency of those risks. There is also a debate about fairness and reciprocity. Currently, China still requires Korean citizens to apply for the visa to enter their country, which means the policy is not equal between the two countries. Some argue that Korea should be open if the China offers the same treatment, and others argue that we should just allow them because of the potential economic benefits, regardless of China's position. But it is also significant to consider the advantages of the policy itself. Like I said, this policy is a way to help the local businesses to recover the damage from the pandemic. Large amounts of Chinese customers definitely help to boost the tourism revenue, and increased travel politics might help improve people-to-people relationship, which can directly support diplomatic stability. And often, increased travel policies make the country appear more welcoming and globally competitive, which can strengthen the Korea's international image. Given the clear risk and the clear benefits, now the question is, how should Korea respond responsibly? I believe the key lies in the balance. While Korea should open the door to gain the economic benefits, they should still invest in monitoring the immigrants, digital tracking systems, and should keep in transparent communication with the local communities. In that way, the government will be able to manage the system in a well-regulated way, and that will support growth and at the same time would reduce the risk. The goal is not to block the people, but to create an environment where tourism is both beneficial and safe for everyone. A visa-free entry policy might look like a small administrative change, but it actually reflects broader issues like diplomacy, economics, and national identity. Just looking at the both sides and staying informed, we will be able to know the deeper meaning beyond the surface. And we can see how Korea will shape its own future in the constantly changing world. Thank you.
Today I'm going to be talking about how culture shapes student mental health, and obviously it's by Shirley Jen. And if I do like a small introduction, today I'm going to be talking about tone, and what tone actually is. It is a uniquely Korean emotional bond that goes beyond friendship. And as a Korean, this actually has like a very deep meaning to me. But the motherland of tone has a toxic culture that branches out to society. And to heal, I think we have to have a new cultural blend, such as mixing westernized clarity and South Korean tone together. And the mental health impact of toxic culture in Korea is hiding feelings because it's seen as being weak to express it, and being excluded for not knowing their place by their senior, because you might want to express something like an innovative idea, but you can't express it because your senior is seeing you for not knowing your place and excludes you. And if after researching about some of the South Korean life satisfaction, we were actually the lowest in life satisfaction, and we suppress emotions to avoid conflict, and silence is actually implied in the culture where being silent is seen as better than being vocal about feelings and expressing feelings. And I think this is an area of concern that should be addressed, because having to read the room, which is actually 눈치 in Korean, makes people afraid of actually expressing feelings, and failure can be seen as being worthless in a very competitive environment such as living in South Korea. And mental health support is still stigmatized and seen as weird to be vocal and have therapy in Korea. And we might lose future innovators who want to think differently, because in order to be more innovative, we have to kind of think about other people what other people think, but because of 눈치 or reading the room, or because of the senior and junior relationship, people might not be able to talk about their feelings and talk about their thoughts. And who is at risk is students and the society. Respect based on hierarchy, and reading the room can cause extra thoughts, thinking about, oh, did I do this wrong, or is this not going to influence me forever? Can lead to anxiety, insomnia, and potentially to depression. And the society can lose the spark of creativity because the innovative thoughts can just get passed over because of the seniors, and ideas needed to create a brighter future can be lost. And if I address this issue, Korean Air was actually in one of the worst airlines in Korea, and why, not in Korea, but actually the world, because this was actually caused by language, and why it was actually caused by language was because when someone was supposed to say, "Captain, the altitude is too low, we have to pull up now," the junior captain kept thinking about the respect based on hierarchy and kept saying that, "Sir, perhaps the weather may be a little difficult," and didn't really address the problem right, and kept addressing the respect and how the captain might think if he was a little bit more direct to the leader. And crashes actually was caused by softer warnings, and hierarchy prevented clear speech. And the communication how this issue was actually solved was Korean Air changing the pattern of communication, and this helped the safety improve because westernized clarity and Korean tone and Korean respect was actually blended together and created more improved safety. And the emotional cost of all of this mental health issues can cause anxiety, burnout, the fear for asking help, and stress hidden behind smiles, and pain filtered through politeness. One of the most important things that I want to talk about in this presentation is that mental health collapses in silence, and we must be vocal about it. And solutions is we can keep Korean tone and respect, but we can add westernized clarity and honesty, and build, by blending these cultures together, we can build a safe emotional communication bond. And the possible downside is that some may see this honesty as rude, and older generations might resist because they've been living with this whole pattern of elders and juniors for like a really long time. But miscommunication such as seeing honesty as rude can be made during the adjustment. But I think the positive side wins, because clear communication can happen through being vocal about your mental health issues and being vocal about what you think, and it can cause stronger relationships. And earlier mental health support can be supported, can be used, and students can feel safe to speak. And I think that silence harms and balanced communication heals, and students deserve freedom to speak. And the most important thing that I wanted to discuss through this presentation is that respect should never require silence, and real respect is the courage to speak and the compassion to listen. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Colin, and today I'm going to talk about the rise of depression in Korean adolescents. So, let's begin. Depression is hard to deal with, and I've experienced depression for quite a long time. It's a personal experience, and to say the least, it detriments those who are affected by it, and it is basically a lifelong process. It takes too long to recover from, and obviously it needs a ton of support. And I am saying this as I know that Korea has the highest suicide rate out of any developed nation. This is gloomy and also staggering at the same time. I guess we can address that our society has sort of ignored mental health for the benefit of economic prosperity. And honestly, I am maddened but also saddened by how Korea treats their adolescents this way. And to quote, a study conducted by G10 and colleagues in 2020 showed that almost 30% of Korean adolescents suffer from depression. 30% may not sound like a large number, but if I pick 3 to 4 random people from this chapel hall, then it means there's a good chance that one of them is suffering from depression. So you can see it's a pretty big problem, and 7 out of 10 who were surveyed about their depressive symptoms said that they have suffered once before in their life or is suffering from it right now. Korea has a very toxic work ethic, in my opinion. Although I've never worked a day in my life, I've heard from many people that all you do is work, sleep, eat, and really no time for hobbies at all. And there is also that saying, I'm pretty sure they call it "빨리 빨리 culture." Many of you will know because our attention spans are basically fried at the expense of doing our work faster. But also, where is our pleasure? Where is all that we do? Where is all of our hobbies? Or where is the things that are supposed to address our depression? And this is just a vicious cycle. It's very tormentive, and I hope this will eventually one day go away. There is also a big competition around 수능. A lot of you don't need to take 수능, but there is that very troublesome for many Korean adolescents because it is just a ticking time bomb. You have to address it or you give up on life and quote unquote be a failure. Why is this important? Well, because depression is a silent killer. Depression, most mental health issues takes around 6 to 14 years of their first onset to actually be addressed or for the person who's suffering from it to seek help. Within those 6 to 14 years, it's pretty likely that the person has already harmed themselves or others, and obviously that is not very good for society at all. So, I've talked about how bad depression is and how we have to fix it, but now I never talked about how we will fix it. Depression is rooted basically in all of us, and it's hard to remove all the roots overnight. But we can plant the seeds of change, and we can slowly and gradually get it away from us and our families or our loved ones. It's very destructive, but what we need to do is listen to the people who are depressed, and we need to help them. Create a support group, doing whatever we can in order to address the situation. Anything helps, just a lending hand. And to bear it alone means that we're gonna lose the fight, because depression is very, very powerful. No one can defeat it alone, so that's why we need the help of other people. And I would like to top off my speech with one of my favorite quotes. It's from the author Ernest Hemingway. And quote, "A man can be destroyed but not defeated." It's very important to never give up, and obviously depression makes us give up, but our number one priority is to never give up and to support those who are suffering from it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dana in G12, and today I'm going to address the social issue of overwork in a slightly different perspective. So, when most people think about the cause of overwork, they might say that, oh, isn't it simply about excessive working hours? Like, obviously, that's also one of the causes, but I realized that the more fundamental reason below it is about how the labor is distributed and managed. I think most of you would have heard about this incident. Recently, there has been a tragic issue in a famous bakery shop named London Bagel Museum, where a young male worker passed away by spending over 80 hours per week. So the reason why this issue was so highlighted was because it was revealed that most of the tasks were overly distributed to this single man, and even though it was a major company, there wasn't any system to monitor it. The essence of overwork does not only come from the time spent, but actually from the distribution of responsibilities and performance expectations that is being opaque and imbalanced. In other words, overwork is not a personal issue that a single person can manage, but actually a much bigger social issue that is linked with structural allocation problems. Then why is this such a serious concern in terms of our society? First, overwork harms innovation and economic performances. When someone is overloaded, they don't have any mental or emotional space to think creatively, plan long-term, or collaborate effectively. Companies often say that, oh, we don't have enough people to work, but in most cases, this is because works are divided unfairly, and it is not because their individuals lack ability. Also, overwork reinforces social inequality. In most of the cases, the most heaviest and least rewarded works are done by the same group again and again, and they are low-wage groups, junior employees, and younger, less experienced generations. This reduces social mobility and weakens community life, as they don't have any time to spend outside of work because they are already struggling under those heavy workloads. Therefore, my proposal is implementing a workload transparency and redistribution system. Let me explain how this would work. First, companies would need to measure and visualize how their labor system is distributed, and then their employers would would need to have a regular meeting to check based on the results. And then, when certain worker or group are receiving too much, they will need to automatically redistribute the tasks so that not a single individual would have too much work. And then this would be the key. There would be a fairness certifications in job search platforms where everyone nowadays used to search their jobs. So this fairness certification would be awarded to companies who actually follow these instructions very well. And the reason why this would be able to lead to real culture changes is because naturally the workers who can perform very well would like to go to companies that really reward them. So if the companies want to hire those people, they would need to work hard to get this certification to prove that they will reward them and their company is running very fairly and transparently. Any possible drawbacks? I believe that there could be initial resistance from some companies who don't want their work systems being exposed. However, in long term, this would even benefit those companies as it will lead to higher innovations with less stress for workers, better productivity with adequate amount of work assigned, lower turnover rate with greater work-life balance, and stronger communities with fair system. And more importantly, it would be able to prevent any other tragic death like the London Bagel incidents. So the problem of overwork is no longer an issue that a single person can manage, but now a much bigger social issue that every one of us should pay attention to. As we address this issue of overwork and implement my proposal, we would finally be able to create a healthier, more innovative, and more equitable society. Thank you for listening.
Lowest birth rate, rapidly aging society, and first disappearing country on the Gulf. These are the current titles of South Korea. At first glance, you might think that these titles are somewhat extreme, since we cannot really observe, we cannot still feel the population clips. We can still observe massive number of people who are waiting at the bus stop or at the subway station on their way to work. However, your thoughts will instantly change if you understand the true meaning behind the South Korea's current fertility rate. Today, I will address the depopulation and aging population problem ongoing in South Korea. I expect you have read numerous news reports with headlines about population problem in South Korea. So you might think that it's getting sufficient attention. Unfortunately, you're wrong. It's getting not sufficient attention. We currently lack active discussion and research as well as practical solutions that will provide a way. South Korea currently has the lowest fertility rate in the world, with 0.75 children born per woman. The fertility level of 0.75 means the South Korean population is not even having one single child. Furthermore, it is substantially below the replacement level of 2.1, the average number of children required to maintain a population. Suppose that there is an initial population with 100 individuals with 1-to-1 male to female ratio and total fertility rate of 0.75. There will be 50 males and 50 females, and since only females can reproduce, it will result in 38 individuals. Then with the same procedures, only 14 individuals will be left in the next generation. Within only third generation, the population shrank by more than 80%. Of course, this is highly simplified, and although there are many other factors to consider in the real world, this shows how severe the current population and the fertility rate of South Korea is. Furthermore, South Korea is rapidly aging with a median age of 46 years in 2025 and is projected to increase to 62 years by 2070. Which means half of the population will be older than 62 years old. Low birth rate and rapidly aging population simply means there will be fewer people working, but more people who depend on the working population. By 2070, the dependency ratio will reach 1-to-1, which means one working age person has to support one dependent person. This will exert great pressure on the population in their 20s and 30s, and will eventually deplete the pension. Currently, we pay 9% of our income, and we receive 40% in return. Which means we receive more than we pay. This is possible since the pension is a public assistance, and the next generation continuously bears the debt. However, currently, South Korea lacks a sufficient number of next generation to pay the debt. So the pension system is expected to deplete it by 2055. Thus, the recent reformation increased the insurance rate to 13% and increased the income substitution rate to 43% to delay the depletion by just only 15 years. Currently, the politicians are do not try to reduce the income substitution rate since it is unpopular among the pension recipients, who make up the majority of the voters. This will result, thus the increase the insurance rate, that will result in big pressure on the working age population. A key point to note is that the working age population is also a reproductive age population. A significant burden on this population is there will be the steeper decrease in the birth rate. Thus, the older generation should not pass the entire responsibilities to the younger generation, but they should bear it together. Currently, we need policies that will directly aid the 20s and 30s for the potential parents. Thus, to reduce the burden, the retirement age should be extended, but not too fast so that the current young population can be employed. The extension may begin in 2040s when the dependency ratio reaches 1 to 2 and is rapidly increasing. To be practical, the government should aid flexible career changes by providing education and training. Next, our study should ensure employment and higher income for the young generation. The Easterly hypothesis suggests that when the income is relatively high and jobs are plentiful, people tend to have more children. To achieve this, South Korea should implement corporate-friendly policies such as reducing the corporate taxes and increasing government investment in cutting-edge technology. To reduce the burden and the pressure on the younger generation, the older generation must bear the cost of the policies. However, if they change the environment that the younger generation will face, the birth rate will increase and the pension system will be restored, changing the dark and miserable future into bright and hopeful South Korea. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Victor Chai from G9, and today I'm here to go through climate change mitigation. So the need for climate change mitigation arises from the urgent threat from the global temperatures, extreme weather events, or environmental degradations. Without these type of actions, climate change will lead to severe consequences, including biodiversity loss and water insecurity, economic instability. Mitigation efforts such as reducing greenhouse effects, transitioning the renewable energy and adopting sustainable practices are essential to limit global warming and protect ecosystems. The impact of climate change is profound and far-reaching, affecting the environment, society, and economics worldwide. Rising global temperatures leading to melting polar ice caps and rising sea levels and more frequent extreme weather events such as hurricanes, floods, droughts, and far more heat waves. So mitigations and adaptation represent two complementary approaches to climate change. So mitigation focuses on reducing or preventing the emissions of greenhouse gases to slow down global warming. This includes transitioning to renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and reforestation to capture carbon dioxide. Adaptation, on the other hand, involves adjusting to the impacts of climate change that already happened or anticipated. This includes building resilient infrastructures, developing drought-resilient crops, and improving disaster response systems. So there are 5 types of renewable energy solutions, such as hydropower, wind energy, solar energy, geothermal energy, and biomass energy. So solar energy, wind energy, hydropower, geothermal energy, and lastly biomass energy interacts many other organs into electricity or heat. Electricity efficiency technologies are focused on using less energy to perform distinct tasks such as smart lighting, LED bulbs, and automatic lighting systems adjust brightness based on natural light or cutting energy consumption. Efficiency HVAC systems such as advanced heating, ventilations, and air conditioning systems optimize energy uses while maintaining comfort. And energy efficient appliances, more than refrigerators, washing machines, and other appliances, use less energy without compressing performance. Building insulations as high performance insulations, materials reduce heating and cooling needs. Institutional efficiency, equipment upgrades, energy monitoring systems, and waste heat recovery improve the energy use in manufacturing. So the CCS is a technology designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by capturing carbon dioxide, which is capturing, transporting, and storage. So CO2 is separated from other gases at the sources, such as power plants or factories, using physical method or advanced chemicals. So transport, on the other hand, captures CO2 and transports via pipelines or ships to the storage sites. And lastly, storage. The carbon dioxide is ejected into deep geological formations such as duplicated oils and gas fields or saline aquifers. So natural-based solutions are strategies that use natural processes and ecosystems to address environmental challenges, including climate change, while also providing social and economic benefits. So innovating transportation systems refers to new and advanced methods of moving people and goods that prioritize sustainability, efficiency, and reduced environmental impact. This system aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, alleviate congestions, and enhance the overall efficiency of transportation networks. Sustainable agriculture refers to farming practices to meet food, textile without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, such as organic farming, agroforestry, or conservation tillage. Circular economy and waste management focus on creating a sustainable system where resources are reused or recycled or regenerated, reducing waste and minimizing the environmental impact, unlike the traditional linear economy like taking, making, or like disposing. A circular economy aims to extend the life cycle of products and minimizes through recycling and reuse. Thank you for listening.